Anyway, Glenn Sacco is with, is it still called the same thing? Department of Research and Development from the County of Hawaii? I never know, everything changes too fast for me to keep up with. But I'll get out of the way and let you introduce these gentlemen who are gonna help me not be able to keep my crops, right? So.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning. I'm Glenn Sacco. I'm an Economic Development Specialist with the County of Hawaii Department of Research and Development. I work with the agricultural organizations and everything else connected to food. Today we're fortunate to have on our, panel regarding agricultural theft. We have a community policing officer, I believe, Officer William Durr with the Hawaii Police Department. And then we have from the Department of Law Enforcement, the Deputy Director, Jared Redula. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. I'm going to start off by saying that with the County of Hawaii, one of our many tasks is to increase local agricultural production. We do have a grant program to help with our nonprofit organizations to improve their marketing, to improve research, education opportunities, those wide-spreading efforts to try to lift the agricultural industries as much as possible. We've also had a grant with, I believe it was a Food Basket, where they did a pilot project of installing video cameras with some of their producers to try to see how, first of all, what it took to install those cameras in a way that they wouldn't get stolen or vandalized, and also to dissuade the efforts to steal their crops, because we have received reports from them. One of the most, striking report I received was that this lady who was selling the string beans, had like 5,000 pounds of that crop stolen, from her field, and actually suspected that it might have been a farmer based on the way the plants were. How they had stolen the beans. It wasn't someone who just ripped up all the plants and took off with it. No, they were in a way nice enough that they harvested the beans and the plants are still there. So she didn't know that it was stolen until she went out there to start picking. So these are some of the things, these stories that we were running into. Now, the unfortunate part when I asked her this question is, did you report this to the police? And she said, no, she didn't. And it's one of the most common problems is that we're not getting the reports because we need to know, unfortunately, how bad the problem is. We hear a lot of stories, but we don't have the statistics to back it up. So that's one of the things I'm going to say today. If you're a victim of trespass or theft, please take the time to report it. And we'll also talk about this self-reporting ag theft form that is found on the Hawaii Police Department's website and also the Department of Research and Development's website, which actually my wife and I had put together to help speed up this process. So with that, I'm going to turn this over I'm going to start with Officer Durr, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to repeat what he said. Is this better? Yeah, okay, good.
Otherwise he yells at me to yell at you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to repeat what was just said is report, because it didn't happen if it wasn't reported. That's just the simple way to look at it. But we realize that there are issues with reporting it because it's a pain, right? Because you may have to wait 2 hours, 3 hours for a police officer to show up at your farm to report it. And then we may have to come back and back and back if we don't get all the information we need. So that's why we had developed that self-reporting form, and it can be found on the Hawaii Police Department website, also on the county website. And on that form, it was vetted through the prosecutor's office so that everything on that form is what is needed for a successful prosecution. Because the police department, we don't do the prosecution. That's out of our hands. We make the cases, we arrest people, we collect evidence, but we don't do the actual prosecution. Then we send it to the prosecutor's office. Then they determine all the information is here, we can go after this person. So,
Sorry, someone who reports maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year, is there a preference? Do you want us to do online, or would you rather have me call? And I don't mind, because I can work on the farm for 3 hours until Officer Schmidt comes and takes the report.
this is the best approach, is say your farm gets ripped off. You go online, you download the form, and you fill it out as best you can. Then you call the police department and say, hey, I got ripped off at my farm. I have the paperwork that you guys need. Can you send somebody out? Or you can even take it to the police station and drop it off. So that way it's much more convenient for everyone. And on that form, and this is how community policing might be able to help you guys, is there's maps. So if you can do a really nice detailed map of your farm and then have that master map, and then you can hand draw in, circle the area of the farm. Here's where the bananas were taken. You know, here's where I have all my different trespass signs put up, so that it's going to help in the prosecution. And we can come out to your farm if you give me a call or an email, and we can walk it with you. We can go over that form of, like, here's what you really need to include. So you have a master map, so you're not having to make a new one every single time. You get it right the first time. Then if you get ripped off 6 months later, you just pull it off the computer, you know, write in, notate where the crop was, and that kind of thing. and we're happy.
When you mentioned the no trespassing signs, there's been a lot of issues with that. What are the current regulations in each of the counties for no trespassing signs to be valid?
Yeah, she's asking what are the regulations regarding trespass notices and where they have to be, how many feet apart, is that? Yeah. So I have, and later I will email some central contact that has all the HRS, all those requirements. Off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly how many feet, but a common guide is line of sight. If I can be at one thing, one trespass notice, no trespassing sign, then I should be able to see from that position the next one or the next one. But then it comes up that some of these people that are stealing will tear down the trespass signs. As long as in that you initially put them out, you should be good to go as far as prosecution, because you can't be held responsible if the person walks the perimeter of your property and tears down all the no trespassing signs. But as long as in that initial packet / map that I'm talking about that we could walk with you, we can notate, or take a picture that at one time it was up, that, originally, and that should be good enough. Yes?
Is there any wording that you have to have, or is no trespassing alone fine?
The no trespassing alone should be fine. Yeah.
Sharon Hurd do you have any signs left, Sharon? Do you have any of the no trespassing signs left?
Jim, do you have any in your office left? I'll go. There might be some at the Lake office on the hill. There might be, we ordered a total of about 5,000 of them, and they're gone. And due to some of the budget restrictions, our third order and the tariff restrictions, the cost is going up. We plan to order more,
that has rule number, and it has some of the fine print, but not all of it, but it's pretty clean. Keep the hell out of it.
Yeah, and the packet of information that I'll get to someone to disseminate to you guys has all that information. It'll give you the exact footage and everything, but contact my office because we can go out there, visit your farm, schedule a time, walk it and we'll take pictures, or we'll have you guys take pictures, save them on your computer. So if we do catch somebody and they say, hey, there were no trespass signs up, I didn't know. Well, we can show back later, yes, there were. Yes, ma'am.
Camera positions. A couple years ago, my neighbor had some during and they had a camera at the gate, and they were told basically they weren't going to prosecute the guy that caught him because it didn't show him picking the fruit. So is that still the case? It's just having the camera at the gate doesn't seem to be enough. Does know what you mean.
Yeah, and that is, yeah, she's asking that because there was actually no footage of the person stealing, but of a suspicious vehicle at the gate. Is that what you're saying?
They had pictures of him, but they didn't have
Okay. Yeah, and in that case, that's going to be up to the prosecutors to decide, because we'll put together the case of they were seen on the property, they were seen carrying a bag of ulu or whatever, but there was no actual footage to show that they actually picked it off the tree. That is going to be determined by the prosecutor's office on whether they think that is enough or is not enough. And sure. Okay. One more question, and then I'll turn it over to Jared.
So, not a question, but a comment, that I was on a Zoom meeting with HPD, probably a couple years ago, but there was footage of a security camera, a person with a sack full of avocado-sized something in the sack. And they had pictures of this guy on their property. The avocado tree had been stripped, and yet there was no, they said, we don't have pictures of this person stealing fruit. We don't have an actual picture of him with the avocado in his hand. So no prosecution.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens everywhere. I think that's a different issue. You're not gonna be able to solve that. I have a solution to that. And if you send those pictures to all your neighbors, problem is solved. And that's what you gotta do.
Even blue boards work better. And that's a couple of days. I'm just.
So I have something. So I think I was on a similar Zoom call, and the police officer said that the farmer had actually marked the fruit uniquely, so that when it was taken, they were able to link the fruit theft to that person who they were able to prosecute.
Let me. Yeah, I think I can put a little bit of sunshine in your day with this conversation right now. No, really. Let me first set off. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jared Ridula. I'm the Deputy Director for the new State Department of Law Enforcement. Let me preface what I'm about to tell you by saying everything that Lieutenant Durr just talked about is absolutely true. Absolutely true. What I want to discuss with you this morning is a new law that we have. There's a new weapon that we are going, a new tool, a weapon that we're going to use to confront this issue. The first thing I want to talk about, though, and I think it really bears credit, is the collaboration and the leadership of Director Hurd in the room. We would not have this new law, and we would not have a strong partnership in law enforcement without her, and without Governor Green signing that law, this new law, back in July. Super important. It's called Duke's Law. It's named after a rancher who was killed last year tragically when illegal hunters trespassed on his ranch, allegedly. and ended up with a tragic death there. Let me just kind of preface this by saying, so we understand in law enforcement what the past is. And I hear the frustration in the room and the different angles that everyone has. Yesterday I arrived here yesterday, I spent half a day with a cattleman. I went across his property. He leases his land. He's a very large landowner here. He leases his land to growers and farmers like yourselves. I went across his property yesterday and I learned all about the crime issues that he's facing. I'm going to tell you that I have no patience for people who do this. I understand your frustration. I also understand the legal framework that we were working in. In the past, there has been low enforcement of the agriculture statutes themselves and difficult enforcement on the criminal statutes. I hear the frustration over trespassing, but now we have a new law. This new law has heavy progressive penalties, super heavy. You drunk drive the first time in this state, you'll probably get a lesser sentence than stealing some of your crops right now. Because the new agriculture law that we have, Senate Bill 1249, just passed into law, has mandatory prison sentence in them. Mandatory fines. Just a couple of things. Theft of your products, over $100, Class C felony. Okay, $100. You got to steal $750, more than $750 from a store to get a felony. But you steal $100 of your products out of the field, you get a Class C felony for it. I also want to credit on this island Lieutenant Durr, because I won't talk about what's going on, but he's been smashing some people who are screwing around with agriculture right now, like smashing them. And I also want to tell you about a conversation. A conversation I had with the police chief Thursday afternoon in this county, where he said, and the prosecutor and the mayor, who said, enough already. Enough with this crap already. We're just going to arrest people, and we're going to keep arresting people until we get the message solved. I see your question. I'll take it right after this. So a couple of things in the new law. Night hunting on agriculture land. So somebody comes on your land at night and hunts, that's a felony. Okay. If somebody trespasses on your land and has a dangerous weapon when they're found, that's a felony. Okay. Somebody trespasses on your land the first time and gets caught, the new law says that's 3 days in jail, mandatory. The second time they get caught, that's 30 days in jail, mandatory. Okay, now let's deal with the issue of signs. Okay, so 100% true what Lieutenant Durr said about signage and line of sight. The signage helps for prosecution. The new law says, though, recognizing the frustrations and the difficulty it is to enclose and sign your entire large properties, it says all it has to do is look like a field. It can be a fallow field, it can be one that's harvested, it just has to look like a field. Okay? The issue, though, is you have to work closely with the police so that we can explain this to our prosecutor. Okay? So it just has to look like a field. Okay? You don't necessarily need the signs. The signs are absolutely going to help. But it just has to look like a field. Okay? So let me tell you guys, we heard about reporting. We need the data. 100% correct. Whether you report it at the police department's website, whether you report it to the county, or whether you report it to us, we need the data. The reason why we need the data is because in this new law, the governor, with Director Hurd's help, my director, Director Lambert, we are authorized what's known as a special project. That special project is an idea of proof of concept. Shortly, I'm going to be hiring on this island 4 state troopers, state police officers, whose entire job is to enforce the agriculture law and to patrol the agriculture lands. 3 of those officers are going to be patrol officers. 1 is a detective. This is also happening on Oahu. Although we are responding statewide to this. Okay, so within the next year, we're going to be hiring and training these officers to patrol the agriculture lands. Okay, it's proof of concept. I wanted 40 officers, the legislature gave me 6. Okay, because what they said was, figure out if this works. And if this works, we give you what you want. Okay, but the only way this works is 1, you got to report this stuff. And 2, you have to stand by and work with us. Okay? I'm going to ask you to please work with my officers. I must understand your industry. That's why I'm standing here today and listening to these lectures, is because I have to, in order for us to be effective, I have to understand what you do. Yesterday, I spent half a day with a rancher learning what he does and learning what these lands look like so that I can tailor a law enforcement operation to smash some of the people who are screwing with him and his growers. Okay, so I need that. And what we're also going to do is leverage some technology. So I'm going to be back here in a few weeks dealing with a problem here. And when I do, I'm going to bring some technology to help me do it. Okay, so all in all, I hope that sells a little hope in the room. Okay, that we're slowly changing the paradigm. I can tell you we're already investigating agriculture issues. I actually myself responded on Labor Day to an agriculture crime, and I myself confronted the people, and I dealt with them. Yeah. It was actually myself and the director, Director Hurd's counterpart, my boss, that went out on a holiday and dealt with these people. Ma'am, I see your hand up.
Yeah, what are you gonna do about liability issues? Because I know our neighbor 3 years ago, so it was before the law, had a person go up into his lychee, the lychee broke, the guy fell, injured himself, the neighbor called the police and the emergency for the guy. When the police came out, the guy was threatening to sue the guy, and the police agreed that, yeah, he had liability because he had an attractive nuisance. He's now since put barbed wire stanchions up. We don't have that yet, but in January of this year, we had a person taking his clothes off at early morning in the middle of our apiary, leaning against a brand new hive that wasn't yet stuck together. Our whole goal, instead of calling the police, was getting him out of our property because we didn't want liability. If the liability still stands, we're all at the behest of any trespasser who goes, oh, I got injured.
Yeah,
Can you
We
summarize?
have to have a
Yeah.
limit of
Yeah, so
liability.
her question is a question of private landowners' liability when somebody trespasses on your land. Yeah, so essentially, your fruits, the products that you have on your land attracts people to it, and if it's not fenced or something like that, then potentially there's a liability issue if somebody gets hurt
He
there.
had fences.
Okay,
They went over the fence.
yeah, but I think what our initial, so this guy goes over the fences, he gets hurt on the property, but he's trespassing. And I think our initial sort of angst to that, or our initial sort of laughter to that, okay, is the same sort of deal that when the courts take a look at this. So I totally get it. Yeah, and I'm not here today to talk to you about private liability because I'm not a lawyer. I think it's important that liability issues you speak with a lawyer about. However, it's one of those things, and the courts are really, when you take a look at some of what goes on in the courts, it's an arena of common sense. Like, you go there, you trespass, you climb all these fences, and then you get hurt there because of your own actions. That's like FAFO. Yeah. And so I get it, and I think that's a valid concern, and probably one that you should speak, to your counsel about.
Yeah, we talked briefly before. One of the things that, it's not, and you guys have come out and done all the reports, it's worked really good. They've never gotten anybody, but it's worked good. The one guy must have got zapped because I've got a 6,000-volt fence. I may add razor wire, but that's another story. It's the people that buy this stuff is a problem, and we have to start working on that side of it. Not just the people who steal it, but if they're stuck with, 200 pounds of my avocados or mamey sapote and they can't sell it, well,
Yes.
at least. So we talked about using a UV, giving out, getting money from Director Hurd. Are you writing this down, Chip? And UV pens to farmers, to our members, Mark. Right, you can put a big M for mangoes. Huh? Well, let me finish. So you can put a big M. People think we're married. We put a big M on it for Makai, put a heart, and then give you guys the UV pens. So, hey, all my fruit was stolen. Can I check these farmers market? And then call you when I find the guy selling it, across the street from Choice Mart or something.
Yeah, that could help, but there's always a balance on whether or not that's efficient.
Yeah.
Or an efficient way for you to get your fruit to the marketplace. I think better, or perhaps a different idea or a different approach would be to enforce the statutes that are already on the books.
Oh, yeah.
So I give you an example. When you go to the marketplace, you're supposed to prepare documents showing transfer of these products in the marketplace and then you don't have to do it when you sell to the ultimate user. Okay. However, there's these documentation that's supposed to be created. Yeah. And that's critical. Okay. Now the second part of the critical is for us to survey the marketplace. Well, how many people are creating these documents? Right? So that that's the issue, right? So if we want to deal with the marketplace, then we got to enforce the marketplace laws. Okay. But I want everybody in the room to understand this. There's balance. Okay. So I have already told my staff, my expertise. I spent 18 years in narcotics. We do street level buys, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I've told my narcotics detectives to go down to the open markets and to see who's doing what in the open markets already. Yeah. And the issue might be that if we go and inspect people in the marketplace, I got to do it for everybody. And that means the legal side of industry has to create the documents when they're supposed to, so that I can exclude the legal side and go after the criminals. Yeah. So I got to enforce this law even-handed. Okay.
So having this information and continuing to push it, we'll be glad to send it. We have, over 1,000 members, and we'll just give the package to Glenn. Glenn can send it to me. I'll send it to the board, and some of the guys will send it out to each chapter or statewide. People here from every island. Having that information available will be
So I work at farmers market, and I really appreciate those guys coming around because it's like working in a mental institution there every day. We are just those narcotic people or some drugs in the back room and popped out, and
We're not. We do not engage in immigration enforcement. Yeah, no.
Thank you very much for taking on this path. It's unbelievable job that you have before you. We're addressing crops. What about animals?
Yeah, 100%. So we're dealing with livestock theft issues right now. I personally have been on ranches investigating livestock theft in Honolulu. And so equally, it's any part of the agriculture industry, the DLE has been tasked with enforcement, criminal enforcement. Sir?
So I've talked a little bit about cameras, but the practice or the use of cameras, I think we're getting better and better at it. What are you finding that's most effective? If we have cameras, if there's a grower, what can we do with cameras?
Yeah, it's the same conversation, I think traditionally, which is check out your entrances, that kind of thing. Now, there was an issue brought up where someone said, hey, we took a picture of a person entering, but we didn't actually take a picture of them picking, right, or harvesting. So I'll tell you, you have an incredible prosecutor on this island, incredibly strong prosecutor on this island. So even in my last conversation with him a few days ago, it was as simple as the guy showed up empty-handed and then left with stuff in his hand.
Common sense.
Right? Yeah, and that's what I mean. Now, that's a real simplified version, and we're not, practicing law here this morning, but even he goes pretty simple. Yeah. So, I'll tell you guys, the paradigm has been flipped on its side. Like nobody has patience for this anymore. Yeah? I will not have another rancher get killed over this. Yeah? And so this is why the prosecutor on this island, the police chief on this island, the police department, like, we don't have patience for this anymore. We recognize it now.
Do you know anything about what's happening on Maui? Is there issues on Maui?
Yeah, so there's issues in all the counties. The DLE is working with all the county police departments, and we are responding to all of the counties when we get reports of agriculture crime issues.
Can I say something really quickly? Just to kind of, this gentleman here, he had mentioned it, and I really encourage it, is you guys as local farmers need to have, for lack of a better word, a neighborhood watch where you guys know all the farms around you, you have each other's emails, so when you get a picture of a suspicious pickup truck that drives by every day and then somebody got ripped off, you can email it to the 4 farms around you and say, hey, look out for this. You know what I mean? Because that's going to be your best protection, because we don't have the luxury of having enough officers to be patrolling your farms, 24/7. We do it when we can, but if you guys communicate amongst yourselves and say, hey, this is what's going on, you can better protect yourselves. And then you can establish someone like myself in the police department of where do I need to send this information? Because not only do you guys share the information, and you may know this person, but I need to get it as well, because then I can talk to my guys, the one that works Hamakua or wherever, and say, do you recognize this truck? Do you recognize this person? They're suspicious, they've been seen around, and then we're informed, and you guys are protecting yourselves. So I just want to encourage that. And then when I get the packet of information, it'll be the certificate of movement and all the trespassing regulations, all that stuff. You'll have my email, and then you can forward it to whoever you think would be.
Glenn can always find me.
Yeah.
I get 30 emails a week from him anyway. So one thing I think needs to be mentioned is the confrontational issues between potential thieves or suspected thieves and the individual farmers. My wife's chased people out of jackfruit trees that I'd be afraid to go near, but she has them running. It's like,
Mhm.
and I'm your side, so it's. But a lot of people should, start to get into it with people on their farm, which they could, but there's a potential for,
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And
call first.
yes, because you guys don't necessarily have the tools or get paid to do what we do as law enforcement. That's our job, is to do the confrontation, right? Your job is just to report it, and get us as much evidence as you can safely so that we can go after these people. But did you have any last comments or? Okay. All right. Yes.
Hi, so I don't work in the agriculture industry, but I was wondering from the consumer side, like what can we do as ourselves, like to educate so that like we don't buy from someone who is not informed, or like we don't know who's a bee, we don't know like who's the actual farmer who's growing these things, because right now like we go to the farmer's market and see like, hey, they're selling it, they must be legitimate, so like we just get them. How can we prevent that?
You just have to ask a lot of questions when you're buying ulu at the farmer's market or whatever. Just ask a lot of questions, and based on that situation, what you receive, make the best decision you can. That I feel good about it. That this person didn't just go, steal off somebody's property. Oh, their story made sense. Yeah, I can feel like I can trust them. At that level, that's about the best you can do.
What would be like a one good question to ask?
Do you grow organically?
Or just ask them what farm they bought it from.
So I grow mangoes, and I have people coming to me all the time trying to sell me mangoes. So I always have to vet these people to figure them out. So I go through a bunch of things. First of all, I look at it and I see if it's graded well. So if this stuff's not graded well, I know they just stole the stuff. The second thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at the quality of the fruit, and I'm trying to see, is it all ripe, or is it all mixed up with different types of ripeness? And then I'll ask the question, where's your plant? Where do you grow it? And like the thing about organic question, that's often a question, but it doesn't have to be organic, but they should be able to answer that question. So you're just talking, where does the tree grow? Tell me about how you grow your plants. And the more specific and the cleaner those answers are, the more confidence you're going to have. The more vague they are, the less suspect. I mean, are those of you that are selling at the farmers market, would you agree with that, or would you add to that?
A lot of them are inspired by one person and they'll just say one name. That's like
So that's sketchy. So, and again, if they just have a laborer doing it, you don't have the quality of the farmer's market experience when that happens. So it's so much, but as a consumer talking to the farmer, isn't that so much better? So you're going to go, and that's kind of what you want to do as a consumer, I would think. I mean, those of you that are going to farmers markets, you would kind of agree with me on that, or you want to add to that? Advice to the consumer is there a question? She's the consumer, so what would you say to a consumer?
Well, I can talk to people buy from small farmers, and and I'm happy to talk to people in your house.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like I said, talk about
So to summarize what she was just saying, the point that was coming up, and I really appreciated your question, because the consumers don't understand what the growers are doing, and you don't know what's happening with there. And this is what's so nice about farmers markets. This is your opportunity to get to know the growers. And if you're not getting that experience that you're meeting with a grower, it's not a grower, and it's probably suspect. I mean, that's basically my point I'm making with you. And the growers love to talk about their fruit. They're so proud of it. So you're talking to a grower. But if they can't give you any detail or no passion coming across, yeah, that's suspect.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity, and as you know, we'll be getting you more information, and so thank you for being producers.